Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Chris here from Esports News, X Rotation, however the flip you know me on these interwebs. And today I'm going to be bringing you guys a quick preview of what to expect going into this week's matches. That, of course, being week 2 of Stage 2 of the CDL. So, without further ado, let's look at last week's results. So, as you guys can see from the last video, I went over everything. I did pretty well last week. You guys can see I got 21 points. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 11. So I went 8 for 11. No, actually 7 for 11. 7-Eleven. Shout out 7-Eleven, my favorite convenience store, for real. And I'm currently top 1,000 for pick'ems, so not bad. But let's get back into it, and let's try to keep climbing, ladies and gentlemen. So, in our first matchup on Friday, I feel like this one is going to be a pretty interesting one, if we're being honest. Most people are probably going to write this off and say, oh, it's going to be a DoorDash for the Rokkr. They just got their first one. They broke the seal. That's possible, but I don't think it's that likely. Looking at Carolina, let's look at their stats as a team overall. As you guys can see, it's really Gwyn who is the standout here. And TJ's right there with him. I mean, look at his Slayer rating. He's a very efficient Slayer. But Gwyn is just on another level, right? Like, looking at Slasher's non-traded kills, he has a higher percentage than anyone else on the team, but it's just because of his role. It's not because he's frying like that and no one can shoot back. It's just, you know, Slasher's typically sitting top window or some power position, just holding an angle. So looking at the hard point, obviously you have Gwyn and Slasher being the KD leaders here, but typically Gwyn and TJ are the standout performers, but TJ plays a sub, so you're going to have a few maps where you go super neg as a sub player, and it's going to take your KD down typically. And then looking at the S&D, of course, TJ is their shot caller, of course, with the 1.14, which is actually nuts. Then Gwyn has a 1.05, so very solid. In control, Gwyn has a 1.14. He is a walking nuke in control, and same with TJ. He's really good in control, but the other two leave a lot to be desired. And then let's look at Rokkr on the other side, compare the stats. So overall, you guys can see Rokkr 1.04 on Estriel, 1.06 on Geo, 1.03 on Nero, Paul with a 0.89, and then comparatively, Carolina, I mean, 1.0 on Slasher, 1.0 on Tej, and 0.92 on Vivid, and a 1.08 on Gwyn. So you can see that based on the stats, just looking at the eye test, the Slayer ratings are comparatively a lot higher for these three in comparison to Carolina's best three. Right, you have 89, 87, and 79, whereas it's all 80s for Minnesota, right? 88, 87, and 93 for Nero. So, yeah, I mean, even Nero, he eclipses Gwyn in terms of his Slayer rating. So, clearly the stats favor Minnesota. They're hard point, smoking the Carolina Royal Ravens, obviously. Stats-wise, everybody on the Ravens except, I'm sorry, the Ravens, the Rokkr except for Paul X is absolutely frying in hard point typically. S&D, it's Estriel and Geo who have the more common takeovers, but Nero is a really solid S&D player in this game, especially on Vault S&D. He is absolute takeover mode there. And then in control, Estriel and Geo are the standouts here, but Nero and Paul X are typically pretty solid in control. Rokkr's a very solid control team. So, yeah, I mean, in this one, I feel like everywhere but the S&D, Carolina's outclassed. But Rokkr's S&D has been absolutely phenomenal as of late, as has their respawn. So, most of the community's favoring Carolina, I guess just based on their previous form. But considering recent form, I'm absolutely going to say Rokkr. And I'm not necessarily going to say a Game 5. I feel like Rokkr's just been a little bit more dominant as of late. And Paul X has gotten a lot more comfortable. He's getting a lot more kills on the map. And I feel like they're just a better team. I feel like they've taken a step forward. Now, speaking of teams that have taken a step forward, we have the Miami Heretics. And then on the other side, we, of course, have the LAG boys. They have taken a clear step back, where Miami took a step forward at Major 1, getting a top 3 finish. So let's look at the stats. Not really sure that the stats are going to inform my decision here, if I'm being honest, just because both these teams have horrid stats, just based on their matchups and performance. So, looking at it, Lucky, Metals, Real, and Rancor are the 4 that should be playing on Friday. Not sure if Metals is coming back or not. I'm pretty sure he is, but we'll see. So, Real is a standout, followed by Rancor pretty closely. But Lucky and Metals have been playing up. Around Major 1 is when they really started to kick things up a little bit. So, expect them to continue to fry. And I don't think these guys are going to fall off just because we went back online. I think they figured out how they want to play the game, and that's the more important thing. I mean, a ping difference is going to help with certain gunfights, but if you overall know how you want to play the game, you're still going to do pretty well most of the time. So online has a negligible effect on a lot of teams, and some teams overrate the impact the online has. But that's another topic for another day. So Real and Rancor are your obvious standouts in hardpoint, and S&D Real is really the standout, and everybody else is just kind of there in a supporting role. And then in control, you have Lucky as the clear standout, and everybody else is, they're okay. So looking at it, Minnesota. Miami is a pretty solid team, but their stats are, they leave a lot to be desired. And then looking at the LAG boys, you of course have Kismet and Linz, the hardcore super carries. 93 Slayer rating on Kismet and 91 on Linz. Of all the players we've reviewed so far, by the way, that is the highest Slayer rating of any duo. Yeah. So looking at the hard point, Linz has a 1.14 KD on the season. Jesus Christ. And Kismet has a 1.04. For a sub-duo, that's actually insane, guys. That's insane. Contextually speaking, that's insane. Looking at the S&D, you of course have Kismet and Linz as the standouts along with Skies. They're sitting close to a 1 KD, so not bad. And then on control, you have Kismet as the obvious standout with a 1.18. He just loves control. So looking at the stats, I'm thinking LAG have a little bit more slang, but Miami, they're a little bit more crafty, certainly at the moment. I mean, I liked what I saw from LAG last week in their lone series against, who did they play? The Breach. It was a 3-2 obviously in favor of the Breach, but there was some serious trolling going on the LAG side. So with that in mind, I think they probably course correct here, and I think they get a Game 5 victory over Miami. Miami's a solid team, but I feel like LAG, I know I keep trusting in them guys, and they keep disappointing, but at some point they're going to break the seal, and I think this is it.
Hey guys, it's Chris in Post. Just wanted to say Lunars is actually getting picked up for Priesta, so your boy knows ball. I was actually right in my prediction.
So looking at our next series, our last series of Friday, we have Cloud9 taking on the Vegas Falcons. No point in looking at the stats on this one. I think we all have our minds made up. Cloud9 has been trolling in S&D, so I'm really not sure what to expect from them in the S&D. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, So I'm gonna say 3-0. I'm gonna give them that. I think they're gonna be looking to definitely have a pretty strong S&D performance after having some weird ones last week. It has to be said. And then on Saturday, we have Faze taking on Miami. I think regardless of what happened in the Seattle series, I hope this doesn't age poorly, but I feel like Faze will definitely get their lick back. I feel like after losing that series against Seattle last week, I keep saying Seattle, Vancouver last week, Faze will likely say, hey, we don't want to lose to any more of these mid-pack teams. Vancouver, to me, is not a mid-pack team. I think they're a top 5 team with Neptune. I'm very sold on Neptune. I'm investing in Neptune every time I see that, man. So, yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to say 3-0 for Faze. I feel like they're just a step ahead of Miami. Miami's a great team, do not get me wrong. But I feel like Faze is just going to be looking to reassert dominance after losing to Vancouver and then 3-0ing Optic in dominant fashion. I think they're going to try to keep the momentum going. And I think Draws has been frying, so I think that bodes well for Faze because Celium finally got comfortable going into Major 1. And Simba and Beezy were just Simba and Beezy. They never really missed a step. So, yeah, this bodes really well for the Faze boys, their recent form. So, without further ado, let's get into the series that I've been absolutely promoting the bleep out of on social media. Optic Texas versus the Carolina Royal Ravens. I think Carolina's struggles continue here. I think it's BTA, as the kids like to say on the internet, belt to ass. And yeah, I mean, Optic, you guys are going too crazy, some of you, with the recency bias. These guys are defending world champs, and Call of Duty is all about personnel. At the end of the day, it's an esport. It's not basketball. There's no ref, foul, bailout cheese. There's no flopping. None of that BS. No penalties, no VAR, no power plays where you take somebody, put them in the penalty box. Learn what that is last night watching hockey. Look, Optic, they're going to get their hands on Royal Ravens. And like every other time you've seen, just to get absolutely slammed in the Game 5 by Gwyn and TJ or Slasher, whoever it was that went off. Might have been Vivid. I don't even remember at this point. I just remember the slammage. Bro, what did Nate Shaw say?
Burns! I don't want to hear you talking shit if you're not going to win the match.
Exactly, bruh. So this is what I'm saying. Optic get their get back. 3-1. Greenwall stands tall once again, giving the fans all types of hope. I think they need it, and I think they'll get it. So, yeah. Enough turn up for me. They have one series this weekend. I feel like, knock on wood. I've said that so many times. Rokkr have one series this weekend. I'm going to say Rokkr get their get back. They're competing for, a really good seed at the major, so I think they're going to really practice hard for this. And they only have one match this week. Yeah, this is easy Rokkr dub. This is the only thing they have to plan for. I think they win this one for sure. Get absolutely dog walked, but I think Optic get this one. So looking at the next series, we have Vancouver Surge taking on the LAG boys. And yeah, dude, I'm a Neptune believer. I'm 100% sold on that guy. I've always liked Neptune, but you guys know I'm a Halo kid originally, so I'm always partial to Halo guys. Formal's my GOAT because it came from Halo. So yeah, looking at it, 3-2 Surge is my call. Let's see what the community thinks for this one. Okay, so 67% of people are backing Surge as well. 97% are backing Faze. 80% are backing Optic. Oh, we already checked that. Oops. Let's see what they're thinking about Breach versus Ultra. I mean, Ultra might be free right now. Cloud9, yeah, favored. Wow, Heretics favored by the community. Interesting. And then Ravens favored. We checked that one before. But okay, Boston versus Toronto. This is one where I will check stats because this is going to be. Oops. Wrong thing. So looking at it, Snoopy is the obvious standout, but that negates recent form. Cammy has been the recent standout in all the recent series for Boston Breach. He has been the lone standout. Snoopy's been playing really well too, don't get me wrong. It's not like he fell off. But Cammy's just been on another level. He's been playing surprisingly well, and he's been turning heads. So looking at it, obviously you guys can see Snoopy's the overall leader with a 1.08, which is insane. His hard point is insane with a 1.1. S&D is probably Snoopy. Yeah, Snoopy and Purge. Snoopy 1.15, shout out to Zombies, and Purge with a 1.07, which is really typical considering the fact that Purge is your other SMG. Your SMG is having a 1 KD and S&D is phenomenal. And then on the control side, Cammy and Awakening are the two. I'm sorry, Awakening and Snoopy are the two standouts, and Cammy's not far behind them. But yeah, their control is. I mean, let's look at their record, right? Like they're 4-8, so that's why I was grunting. Yeah, and then looking at Ultra comparatively speaking, Beans with a 1.05 KD, Kleenex with a 1.04, Insight with a 0.93, and Joe with a 1.03 overall. Slayer ratings are phenomenal for the Ultra boys. Kleenex with a 92, Beans with an 86, and Joe with an 89. Really, round that up. I mean, it's pretty good. So looking at their hard point, obviously you guys can see they have 3 players who are in the green, so they consistently slay and get their kills. But this is slightly skewed because they had such a good stage 1. Stage 2 form remains to be seen how good they truly are. They've been struggling a little bit. They looked good in their last series of the weekend, but their opponent was not the best. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, looking at their S&D, that's phenomenal. 1.2 on Beans and Joe is crazy. That duo is nasty, though, so it makes sense. But 1.2 is insane. That's out of here. And then in control, Kleenex is a monster. He's a 1.09, Joe is a 1.03, and Beans is 1.2. So, honestly, Ultra is favored stats-wise, but Boston is just, they play very well. They're a fundamentally sound team. And, this is going to be a rough one. Okay, so let's look at who Toronto lost to last week. They lost to Cloud9, and they got dominated, but it was more a Cloud9, like, masterclass than a Toronto Ultra failure. Kleenex dropped 20 on the red card. It was an uncharacteristically bad and weird series for the Ultra guys. I mean, they were laughing when they were losing certain rounds in the S&D, and I'm not laughing, but they were losing full and they were losing certain rounds in the S&D. So, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna back the Ultra here. I feel like that loss to to Cloud9 was something to be written off. I feel like it was just a fluke. I feel like Ultra is just a good team. But I feel like that loss, when you look at it in context, it's not what people thought it was. And then in the next series, we have Minnesota taking on Vegas Falcons. I think Minnesota take this one. They're looking really good. They just 3-0'd Optic. So form-wise, I feel like Minnesota is phenomenal, and that's why I think they take this one. Okay, Sunday, we have a really interesting one. We have 2 interesting ones, actually, to close it out. So LA Thieves versus Toronto Ultra. Surprisingly, for some of you guys, I think this is going to be a 3-1. I think Thieves, their respawn is just better than Ultras. And then Thieves, conversely, their S&D is free. So, that does raise an interesting point, though, because Thieves, with their S&D being so free, you have to assume that Ultra's going to win that. If they play the vetoes pretty well in the control, too, Thieves 3-0'd Ravens, which is not much of a challenge at all. And then they played Falcons. Falcons took the S&D off them. They beat Ravens in control. I'm going to say that Thieves win this. I'm going to say that they win this. Yeah, I was going to say that Ultra win it because they could force a game 5. I mean, that's entirely possible that they win it or they force a game 5. But I just feel like Thieves is better. Beating Carolina, I mean, it's a team you should beat. Those guys are dangerous no matter what kind of form they're in. Looks like they're figuring something out, trying to get Vivid more comfortable, but I'm not going to go into that. But Yeah, I mean, it's very unclear because you have Toronto losing to Cloud9 in embarrassing fashion, and then of course they got their rebound against the Ravens, right? Both these teams got their rebound against the Ravens, and one of them played Falcons. So this is a really weird series. I'm not sure where to go, but I'm thinking Thieves. I'm thinking Thieves. That's just a safer pick. Personnel wise, Hydra, Scrap, Joe and Envoy. I'm Joe and Envoy. Hydra, Scrap. You see, I'm putting Joe back on Thieves. Hydra, Scrap, Envoy, and Dan Ghosty versus Joe, Beans, Kleenex, and Insight. I'm going to take the LA Thieves 10 times out of 10 in that one. No disrespect to Ultra, but that personnel difference is crazy. So, looking at our last series of the weekend, we have Boston Breach taking on Cloud9 New York. And honestly, I like what I saw from New York, but I feel like they overperformed in their series against the Ultra. And I feel like their series against Vancouver Surge was more indicative of this New York team and their form. So, like the rest of the community, I'm going to back Boston, and I'm going to say that it's expect New York to get the S and D. Yeah, we'll say 3-2. We'll say 3-2. These are two pretty even teams. I'll say 3-2 just to be safe. So yeah, guys, that'll just about wrap it up for me. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Don't forget to come back for more coverage in a couple hours, I guess. And yeah, I'm sorry, not a couple hours. Next week, where I'll be going over my predictions for Minor 1, which should be interesting. We're getting another minor, which is nice. And yeah, that'll just about wrap it up for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. And like I said, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with someone if you found this enjoyable or if you think they might enjoy it. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next video. So be on the lookout for that. And Major 1, the movie is still coming. I'm working on it. It's just taking a little bit longer than expected. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, catch you guys on the next one. Peace.